Hello, day 18 of 21 days going live straight, going live straight for 21 days in a row. And so today is number 18 of that 21. I had something actually I did want to talk about is that it's a little bit hard to explain, but I'm going to try to explain it. It's like, it's not too hard, but yeah, you can get some of it. I don't know. So anyway, it's like being in the workplace environment or when you're around a lot of people type environment and people come and go, you know. And a lot of times I say, I'm going to be quiet. I'm not going to, even though I notice something that maybe not so good or toxic about another person, or they're, if I see sneaky, vindictive ways about a person, um, I won't, like say for example, a new person come into the workplace, I won't let them know that. I feel as though people need to find out who people are on their own, and and make their own assessment, because just because I feel that way, they might not feel that way, you know, or the person may never be that way towards them. So there's no need for me to put what I think about another person onto someone else. And then if another person mentions something and I'm like, I still might not say anything. Um, like I knew that, or yep, you're right, and give them my example to let them know that they're not alone. And the reason I wouldn't do that with everybody, it depends on the type of person and the type of relationship that we have and the comfort level I am with that person. Uh, and that can get tricky. But once you learn it and you've been through it so many times, you know that some people do not even deserve that confirmation that you know about the other person, you know? And then in situations like that, when I do have someone that I'm comfortable with and we vibe together and stuff like that, and I'm like, yeah, this is what happened to me and this is why I feel the same way you do. I get what you're saying. And I said, but those type of people, you can never let them know you know who they are, because sometimes they may be insecure. Um, Sometimes if you're going through like a EEO case, you need them as a witness. But you just gotta watch yourself and be careful that sometimes these folks are the ones that try to talk about a lot of people and want to turn the massive amount of people against someone that they don't like. And if you say, you make a joke and say, I don't agree with you. You're so, or, but you keep it as, you're so funny, but I don't agree with you, and there's reasons for that. Um, because sometimes people can be very evil and like they're doing it to that person that can turn out to be you. And depending on what type of organization you're in, what type of people you're around, if, for example, management or the higher up see them as such a doll, that's such a beautiful person. Oh my goodness. Then you're toast. So anyway, um, and then something happened. But anyway, I was scrolling and it was a short or something. And it mentioned one of those laws of the 48 laws of power. And it mentioned how you don't want to always dismiss something like that. I copied it and put it in my notepad, but I forgot it exactly what it say. I'm not saying it exactly because I don't have it on me. But something like you don't want to dismiss and get rid of all your enemies. And then they went on, and then I went on and asked AI. I was like, I need some examples of that. And they gave the example of Abraham Lincoln. And when Lincoln was a president, he hired all of his those that were jealous of him and envy of him. And I think one of the names was Sewen or ER. And I was like, this is so true when you either hire people like that or you bring them, to your level per se. He hired a secretary of treasury, one as a secretary of defense, one as something else, right? And so they thought they were better. They had that jealousy, envy thing in them. And so if they didn't perform, that was on them in the spotlight. You know what I'm saying? Like that's very clever. And although I had bought the 48 Laws of Power years ago, and I'd had it sitting on my desk, and I would come in and I would look at it, and I was like, I didn't feel good about that book, and I threw it away. I mean, I could have gave it to somebody I didn't know, but I just threw it away. But then as time go on, and I get older and experience more and more stuff, I'm like, yeah, I know a lot of that stuff is relatable, you know, but that's why they took it out of the jails. It said because the evil people use it for their benefit to be evil, you know. But I just found that pretty interesting. And so, like, for me to say that's true, like in the workplace, I've noticed that, not as a leader, not being in charge of nobody, but as a person where people would come to with the problems and you had to find other departments to solve these problems. And you know who wanted to help you and work with you and who didn't. So those who didn't, you give them different tasks and chores like they all that in a bag of chips, you know. You never let them know, you know, you know how they feel about you. And that's in certain situations. when you work in the working place environment and you're trying to gain something, you got to be keen, you got to be alert and aware of these things, right? Fortnite Goat says hi, how you doing? And I am going to, I just wanted to touch on that part today. It's not that we get to kick everybody to the curb that does us wrong or that we know that hate and envy us. We got to be smart about it, especially when we're working on something or in the workplace environment or, you know, going to do banking or something, just anything. It's like put it to use for your good, you know, and that's that. Anyway, made it to my day 18 of 21. I'm proud of myself for that. And have a beautiful day.